Guys, we are quickly approaching the real meat and potatoes of this arc, and so if nothing else, now is probably the time for people to get caught up with the Black Clover manga. Where we go from here is going to be major on so many levels that I would just hate to miss out on all that weekly excitement. With the last chapter, Asta and Liebe, having recently forged their devil contract of friendship, were then ready to begin their proper devil union training. With this, we got to see what is assumably one of Nacht's many incredible forms, and boy is it powerful. Unleashing a devilish pack of shadowy hounds, Asta and Liebe were having a really hard time keeping up, but now wielding the now named former sword of Captain Yami, the demon slasher katana, Asta was at the very least able to pick Nacht out from the crowd. With this one, we open up elsewhere to find Yuno sweating profusely, with massive indents along the surface of a mountain. He's been doing a bit of training himself, which is good considering it's apparently his overrun kingdom they're gearing up to fight, and the fact that when the Dark Triad came through the Clover Kingdom, they slaughtered half of his guild, so the guy has plenty to avenge. But as he was in the midst of his training, would call out for someone to stop lurking about and come out of hiding. And it was none other than the former vice captain of the Golden Dawn and younger brother of Finral of the Black Bulls, Langris. Now, this guy, if you remember, was a complete jerk, but one that was thoroughly possessed by the elves during the previous arc. And it is very clear that these two do not exactly like one another, as there's a bit of snarky banter between them. However, Langris did bring up a good point, questioning where Yuno's wind spirit was. Now, if you remember, the last time we had seen Sylph, Yuno was knocking at death's door with a puncture wound to the chest, courtesy of Zenon of the Dark Triad. At the time, Sylph was crying her eyes out and visibly fading away. However, thanks to the World Tree recovery magic, Yuno's life was saved. Here, Yuno remarks that she's currently in his grimoire, and I really don't think we should overlook this. There's certainly a reason she's being highlighted here, and I have some speculation to share when it comes to that. Now, firstly, it could be that this was Yuno's choice. Honing his own base magical power before adding her strength to it may be beneficial in the long run, pretty much getting back to basics. But if this were to be the case, if it were that simple, even if he isn't the biggest fan of Langris, I feel like he could have conveyed this easily enough. My second train of thought would be that Sylph is currently undergoing yet another growth spurt. Over the course of the series, we have seen her physicality mature and grow. And as a spirit, this isn't so far-fetched, as we have seen the very same thing happen in the case of the fire spirit, Salamander. And although we haven't seen her in a previous state, I wouldn't be surprised if this were the same case when it comes to the water spirit, Undyne. And I say this because when it comes to the Heart Kingdom, she has been passed down from princess to princess for generations. And so it's not hard to imagine that that power was then able to grow and expand to the extent that we see her now at today. And so when it comes to Sylph, in seeing Yuno fall like he did, it could have motivated her to have grown more powerful herself to protect him. Which is really exciting because boy oh boy would that be a power-up, and a one reasonable enough to explain why Yuno would be on par with Asta after his ever so harrowing Devil Union training. But getting back on track, Yuno would think to himself that he's figured out a way to defeat Zenon. However, he can't properly confirm how effective it may be by his lonesome, now verbally inquiring as to why Langris was here. And the former vice captain would respond by saying that Yuno probably needs an opponent with spatial magic, and as a result is here to offer his assistance. Yuno then saying that he'd prefer to train by his lonesome, but recognizes that the need for his strength is beyond him. It is a matter of the Golden Dawn. And in assuming that Langris too has gotten stronger, accepts his help. Langris being as cheeky as ever, but currently finds Yuno to be tolerable. From there, we shift back to our regularly scheduled training session with Asta, Liebe, and Nacht. And Asta and Liebe have apparently been getting their asses handed to them as they have lost several times at this point. Asta then recognizing just how powerful Nacht is, even when he isn't really even trying. And boy, oh boy, is this story trying to make me like Not more and more. The man is just too cool, I'm telling you. I am itching to see his full power and backstory explored in the coming weeks. Asta then questioned what exactly was keeping them from victory, now realizing that Liebe is suffering damage just as he is, which is really interesting. I'm assuming that's the friendship aspect of the whole thing. Not sure if there's any actual benefit to that. Maybe it lessens the pain or damage because it's shared between the two of them. I don't really know. But after this, Asta crawls towards a basket of sorts, which then opened up to reveal a number of big treats. The two then munching away at them. Liebe brooding while Asta is ecstatic. With this, all their wounds would heal and strength would return. Pretty much like senzu beans that actually taste good. How convenient. Apparently, the Spade Kingdom Resistance produced these with magic. Asta then saying that he will need to thank them at some point, which I'm assuming is a bit of foreshadowing towards a future character of intrigue or something like that. And Asta, then apparently being inspired by the sweet taste of the food, would call for Liebe's help. To which Liebe worked out a bit of math that in such cases, 10% of the time, Asta would have an idea that is actually brilliant. However, Asta's idea was clearly ridiculous as he had placed Liebe up on his shoulders, making it very clear that this was the 90% probability that they were dealing with. The two would then argue for a little while here, and although it's not action, I do appreciate these moments for what they are. One, because it's so different from their relationship prior, feeling a whole lot more like a brotherly vibe, which I really love, and two, because it's that dash of humor that we may not get much of once the real fighting commences. But not just looked at this, and just like me, he recognized the brotherly dynamic between the two as he thinks to his own brother. It would seem that at the time, Not was described to be a very different person, which is very interesting and intriguing as he previously did say that the man he formerly was is now dead. I'm also wondering who his brother might have been, or might be, I don't really know, but it's probably too early to tell. Not would then say that it's time they rejoined with the others, as apparently the 2 days were up. Not then saying if they can't handle it, they're better off just dying. Which is a bit of a jump in logic to me, but hey man, you're in charge here, don't let me tell you how to do your job. Asta would then immediately call out to Liebe as the entirety of the room would shift to black. The dark prison hunting ground would commence. Hands would sprawl out from all over as Asta would immediately take a hit to the face by an unseen assailant. Even worse than before, as opposed to not being able to pick Not's key out from the crowd, Asta can't sense the key of the crowd at all. Not then saying that Asta had potential, and so it's a shame that things didn't work out. As yet another blow would hit his front as another just hit his back right after. He was in trouble, now bleeding excessively. Death was approaching, unseen in the pitch black darkness. The two then questioning, what's keeping them from becoming one? Why can't they unite? As they would then individually remember the reasons they're doing all this. Remembering that they can't afford to die here, and furthermore, that they can't let each other die. And it was then that a new power would illuminate this space, as a singular eye would emerge. And that is the chapter. Boys and girls, theys and thems, we have a new devilish fusion on our hands, and I couldn't be any more excited. Honestly, with each chapter that focuses on this training, I fear we may get played and not get to see certain aspects, and so I really hope we don't have to wait to see this one properly, because this is hype. Black Clover is really playing no games right now, just like My Hero Academia lately, and I am here for it. And you can be too by making sure you're subscribed to the channel and ringing the bell for notifications. I have a deep love and appreciation for Black Clover that I am so happy I get the chance to share with all of you, so thank you for the overwhelming support you have shown us thus far. Now, if you are of the generous variety and would like to help us out further, please consider doing so over on Patreon. Links in the description. With that, you already know that when it comes to bringing you some of the best Black Clover content on the platform, Plot Armor has you covered. As always, I am Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.